there everyone! So, sorry about not posting a video last week. We had some difficulties with putting it on YouTube, so sorry about that, but hopefully we have it all set up now and we know how to get it to work. So today, I was going to talk about a lot of things. The most important thing I want to talk about is this book. If you do not know already, it is part of the Divergent series. And it was a really good book. A few other things I want to talk about too are just quick things coming up in November that are fandom related that hopefully you know about. The last book of the Legend series is coming out. If you have not heard of it before, the Legend series consists of 3 books. Legend, Prodigy, and the last one that's coming out on November 5th is Champion. Now, I'm kind of a fan of these. I started reading them in January after this book came out. Hopefully you've all heard of this next one. On November 22nd, Hunger Games Catching Fire is coming out in theaters. The news trailers just came out and they look amazing. So hopefully we won't be disappointed. Trailers look like it's gonna stick close to the movie and it actually looks really exciting. The last movie really did not stick as much to the book as I had hoped, but this one actually does look more like I imagined it. Recently for school I read this book, Looking for Alaska by John Green. Now I am a really big John Green fan. He is an amazing author and he's just the best. And this book is really good. Like I said, I had to do this for a book report and I read it a while before I did the report. I recently just finished it. I had to reread parts of it and all the feelings just came back to me. It's such a good book. And if you haven't read it, definitely read it. And definitely read the rest of John Green's books. And thus, we will begin the talk about Allegiant. So, this book had a lot of information that was given to us, and we had to comprehend it all in a very short amount of time, at least for me, because I read this all in one sitting on the day it came out. If you have never heard of Divergent before, basically, Divergent is a dystopian novel, and it consists of a very complex society. There are 5 different factions: Abnegation the Selfless, Candor the Honest, Erudite the Intelligent, Dauntless the Brave, and Amity the Peaceful. The books basically just delve more into their meanings. In the books, we follow the life of Tris Pryor. We soon learn that when a person is 16, they get to choose what faction they go into. They must go through the aptitude test, in which they are tested psychologically. Divergent means you're eligible for 3 factions. Tris can go to either Erudite, Abnegation, or Dauntless. Ultimately, at the choosing ceremony, she chooses to go to Dauntless. In Dauntless headquarters, she meets 4. His true name is Tobias Ian. The Erudite attack the Dauntless with a serum that they created that controls their minds. However, Tris is unaffected by the serum because she is Divergent. Tobias is as well. We delve into a bit of Tobias' past. Now, Tobias' father is actually the leader of all the Abnegation, and Tobias finds out his mother, who was presumed dead, is actually the leader of all the factionless. The whole society begins to go into a war in which 2 sides form. On the one side we have a lot of Dauntless and Erudite, and on the other side we have Evelyn, the factionless, and a little bit of all the factions combined. Now the Amity, on the other hand, are mostly staying out of the society. On the outer edge of the city, on what we would actually call today's Chicago, is a large fence. And by the end of the book, Tris learns that one of her relatives was actually among the first people who came inside of their city and actually came from the outside. So this leaves her pondering what lived outside the city, and that's where the next book continues on. Tris becomes a part of the Allegiant, a group of rebels who want to find out what is outside of the fence. She, Tobias, Yura, Christina, Peter, and her brother Caleb venture outside of the fence. Caleb and Peter were previously considered traitors. It's a complicated story, but they were. So by the time they reach outside the fence with the help of a few of their other friends from various factions, they are met by people who live outside of the fence. The outside the fence is still the United States, but in a future setting. And it consists of 2 types of people, genetically pure and the genetically damaged. Now what does this mean? A bunch of scientists discovered that people are impure, that they have a gene that causes violence. So the scientists decided, why not take these genes out? So they did. People who had a successful surgery were considered genetically pure. However, some people this experiment did not exactly work on, so they're considered genetically damaged in the prejudice kind of forms. Tris, Tobias, and everyone else have a lot to comprehend. Their city that used to be Chicago actually is an experiment put on by the futuristic US government. A lot of the other major cities also had this experiment going on with the same factions. The whole point is to get completely genetically pure population. Divergent actually means genetically pure. So Tris is genetically pure, but it turns out that Tobias is not. He only displayed some qualities of a Divergent. He's not really a Divergent. It's a long story and a lot to take in. But by the end of the book, the city of Chicago is turned into a shared community between the genetically pure and genetically damaged. And people all live together. And it got me really mad when I read the book. And everyone strayed from their personalities in the previous books, except for Tris, I feel. She does have good morals and good ideas. And that is why I feel like she's my favorite fictional character among any of the books that I've read. She says something that I was thinking about the whole time when we found out about these experiments. I'm not saying your genes aren't different. I'm just saying that it doesn't mean one set is damaged and one set isn't. The genes for blue eyes and brown eyes are different too. But are blue eyes damaged? It's like they just arbitrarily decided that one kind of DNA was bad and the other was good. And the thing that upset me the most is that Tobias's personality completely changed in this book. I mean, in the previous books, he was thought as one of the best Dauntless, and I believed that through Divergent and Insurgent, but not during this book, because once he found out that he wasn't really Divergent and he was genetically damaged, he took that as a weakness, and it led to a complete personality change. He's gullible and he's very absent-minded at that point. He loses his Dauntless personality. After Tris's death, Tobias just loses it. He loses his personality. He doesn't even seem like a person anymore. He has no emotion. He plans on erasing his memory to forget this, and that's just a very undauntless thing to do. A very dauntless thing to do in the previous books was go ziplining, and at the end of the book, he's afraid of doing that. A man. That's basically all I have to say about him, because so as I said before, Evelyn, Tobias' mother, she just abandoned him. She seemed selfish and heartless, but by the end of the book was what got me really mad. Tobias went back into the city at the end of the book to resolve the war between the two sides in the city, and he goes up to her and he asks her to do this, and he plans on using a memory serum to erase her memory to get her to agree with him. But no, all of a sudden, she says, "Oh my gosh, I love you so much, you're my son. Okay, I will do this for you." What? No, you do not just go from being a heartless person to being a heartfelt mother. Joanna is the leader of the Amit. You can only assume that the leader of it, Joanna, would be peaceful as well. She does have a kind of darker side to her. She really isn't as peaceful as you would imagine. And she transitions from being a peaceful and peace-filled leader to being part of the war effort. And I feel like this shows the big flaw in the faction system. You can't just be given a personality that you're supposed to act like, that you're supposed to base all your decisions and choices off of. You just can't do that. That's not part of human nature. The whole message, I feel like, of the books should be that human nature cannot be controlled. Because Joanna really does show this. She's supposed to be a very peaceful person and make sure that everyone is peaceful. But she's not. She is affected by human nature, and in human nature, you want to take action in what will change your future. Next thing that I want to move on to is Tris's death. It did not serve for justice. I felt like it was really pointless because Tris was with Caleb and they had a choice. So what they were trying to do was trying to get everyone to get along and trying to eliminate prejudice. At least that's what I got out of it. And in order to do this, Tris and everyone got the idea to go for the memory serum, which was in the main control center of the headquarters that were outside of the fence that controlled the society within the fence. Inside the room that was the center of control, in a way, there was the memory serum. They wanted to spray it over those people to get rid of the thought process of the genetically pure, to make everyone seem as equals. And that's what eventually happens at the end of the book. It was very, very protected, this room. And it had what is known as death serum that would be sprayed if you tried to open up the door by bombing it. And since Tris was Divergent, she could resist it. The original plan was that Caleb would go in. If he died, he died. but hopefully he would get to the memory serum and release it in time. She had that the realization that she should forgive him, like I explained earlier. When she did go in there and died, there was the leader of the genetically pure was in that room already. I thought, why couldn't he just take a sock, for instance, and cover his mouth, take a really deep breath. This is clean, by the way. He could have set up the bombs, ran back around the corner, waited for the bomb to go off, and wait a few seconds for the death serum to spread out so it would have less of an effect on him, instead of being all in one area where he would go, and run. Why couldn't he have done that? Even though if that other person was in the way, and he could have set it up, and then he could have died. Caleb really wasn't an important part of the book. No, Triss has to go. Runs past him, like I wish Caleb could have done if he had the sock. Socks save lives. She ran to the memory thing, and she set it off, and he kept on like shooting her. Eventually, she did die. Now when I look back at it after 2 weeks of reading this, I do see, in a sense, how it was justified because she did it out of an act of forgiveness. The other large problem that I had with this book, this is why I feel like it was mostly incomplete. How did the memory syrup get through the whole control center when Triss set it up? She walked into the room. She automatically knew where it was first off, which I thought was really weird. Do you really think that this society who wanted to change everyone to be genetically pure, would they really set up the memory system to go through all the vents? I feel like it was not given enough explanation to how this would work out. I do not know if you have read this book or have not, but no matter what, I do encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments below because you may not agree with some of the things I said or maybe all of them. We will see you next week. Bye!